months or however long this is going to be.
This house it's not a series of sad events. How we're going to communicate more, and we got to figure our relationships out. First of all, I start breaking up with my family.
The value question: when love begins to cost, what if the one you're supposed to trust ceases to believe in you? What if the one you believed had all the value in your life starts questioning whether you're worth anything anymore at all? That was when everything shifted. It started as a humble question by Kody Brown, the head of one of the most visible families in reality TV history, posed in the darkness of having no idea. Has my value to you, Robyn Brown, been diminished? Nobody anticipated that he would pose it. Nobody anticipated this stripped-down self-doubt from someone who constructed an empire on religion, family, and plural oaths. And still the question hung there, and tension filled the moment as it quivered like a fault line under their marriage on season 20 of Sister Wives. Robyn's eyes fluttered. Her face told so much that she did not say. In the silence, the cameras captured riffling hearts, unwritten fears, and a legacy on the verge of crumbling. Because the worth he quantified, loyalty, history, wives, children, legacy, now had to be measured against something so much more delicate: trust. He posed the question. But what he didn't anticipate is what came next. Overnight everything shifted. The realm of Sister Wives was no longer just plural marriage, it was one man's need to fear obsolescence, and one woman's strength to call for respect. In the blink of an eye, the tale goes deeper: quiet bitterness, moving power, the unspoken reality that for years they were dancing, and one misstep out of rhythm cracked the floor. Stay with me, because this isn't another episode summary. This is the astounding truth behind a question nobody saw coming, and what ensued will amaze you. The conversation that shook the foundation. Kody leaned forward, his eyes fixed, but his voice quivered. The cameras were rolling, but this was unedited, raw, a man confronting his own doubt. He spoke softly, but the words resounded loudly. Robyn, do you feel I still hold value for you? The question hung in the air like smoke. Robyn's fork hovered midway. Her eyes flashed, shock, pain, confusion. The world witnessed a sweet couple. A man confident in his place. A woman happy to be his wife. But behind the camera, the real story was unfolding. Because Kody wasn't inquiring about his work or his vow. He was inquiring about him. And for a man who made his existence on being the patriarch, being the rock, the role model, that question sounded like an opening in the foundation. Robyn took a breath. She gazed at him, then off. She considered the years, plural marriage years. Faith-based years, sacrifices she had made. Relocating states, foregoing comfort. Believing in a vision of family that was multiple wives, shared love, community. She recalled the days she was his legal wife, the joy, the promise, the oneness. But she recalled too the point when exhaustion moved in, the emptying house, the wives drifting away, one by one, the children drawn in diverging directions. She recalled begging for time, for being present, for someone to hold her above the role she played. Robyn replied hesitantly, cautiously, I do value you. But I don't know if we value the same thing anymore. The camera registered the change. Kody's smile wavered. Robyn's voice cracked a little. These women and men weren't fighting divorce or assets alone, they were fighting meaning. Was Kody still the man she had believed in, or was he someone she wasn't even certain belonged by her side? Because to Robyn, the signals were loud even if his words were soft. The woman's email inquiring to join the family, a joke to him, a blow to her. The property at Coyote Pass that was sold for gain while love was sold short. The past marriages on the verge of collapse, 3 wives leaving, and Kody remaining, but altered. Everything shifted overnight. What once was a marriage built on possibility turned into a conversation about whether there was anything left to hold on to. And when Robyn spoke, she wasn't just defending her value, she was defending her future. Kody swallowed, then asked the question that cut deeper: if I'm not valuable to you, then what does that make us? Silence. The point of no return. Because in that silence, the cameras didn't record the facade, they recorded the fracture. And for the very first time, the audience didn't witness a family crisis. They witnessed a man who questioned whether his legacy was lost, and a woman who found that the only value that counted was hers. The words that built the lie. He's told his story for years. He shaped his pain, his purpose, his power, all through his words. But sometimes, words don't tell the truth. They disguise it. The performance of pain. Kody's interviews were his stage. He looked straight into the camera, his tone calm but wounded. He spoke of betrayal, loyalty, and the struggle of keeping faith when everyone else walks away. I've tried to love these women. I've done all I can, he said in one episode. I've been misunderstood. I've been judged. The words fell gently, humble, reasonable, even sorrowful. But behind them was a hard truth. He wasn't spinning a tale of broken hearts. He was rewriting history, line by line. Because while he talked of sacrifice, his actions whispered otherwise. When the family broke apart, he did not ask, "How do I fix this?" He asked, "Who is still loyal to me?" And when loyalty took over for love, the family was no longer home. It was now a kingdom, governed by silence. The lies beneath the script. Kody's biggest talent has always been storytelling. He has learned to speak of himself so that you don't even notice what he's omitted. When Christine walked away from him, he told her she quit. When Janelle challenged him, he said she was influenced. When Mary lingered, he referred to her as brave. But when Robyn dared to doubt him, his former soulmate, his tone was different. He said to the cameras, "Robyn's heart is broken because the rest of the family abandoned us." But in private, he whispered something else, "I gave her everything. And now, even she's questioning me." It sounded like mourning. But it was pride, disguised as grief. Because Kody Brown didn't lose 3 wives, he lost the him they once knew. The image he sold the world every season, Kody reinvented himself. In the early years, he was the dreamer, the man demonstrating that plural marriage could be full of harmony and faith. Later, he became the victim, girded by ungrateful wives who didn't comprehend his vision. And now, in season 20, he plays the philosopher, the man looking for meaning after the storm. But the world is paying attention more now. The same viewers who once wept with him now analyze his silences. The same supporters who stood up for him now listen to the manipulation in each artfully crafted sentence. They notice it, the change, the implied contradiction. When he speaks of value, what he actually means is control. When he speaks of commitment, what he actually means is obedience. And when he utters family, what he actually means is his own version of it. The reality he's been denying for so long is catching up, on tape, in confessionals. And in the gaze of the one person he still believed was on his side, Robyn. Robyn's awakening as Kody got on his words, Robyn's face transformed. Her face wasn't anger, it was recognition. She was finally seeing the pattern that everyone else had lived through. In the season preview, her eyes filled, but her jaw set firm. She didn't argue, didn't cry out. She just whispered, "You can't keep saying you're the only one hurting." And with that, something in the air cracked. Because those weren't words for the cameras. Those were lines for a man who'd constructed an existence as the misunderstood hero. The world reacts when the video dropped, exclusive preview, season 20, social media went wild. Fans analyzed each frame. Some felt sorry for him. Most didn't. He finally knows what he's done. He's not inquiring about love. He's inquiring if he matters anymore. This is the guy who constructed his universe on control, now seeing it come crashing down. And the more the din increased, the farther the illusion receded. Kody's meticulously crafted persona started to unravel, not by virtue of someone else's assault, but by his own words coming back to bite him more loudly than ever. The horrifying reality behind the curtain. Here's the reality nobody was anticipating. Kody didn't merely worry about being unloved. He worried about being obsolete. Because when the wives departed, he still had the show. When the show struggled, he still had the narrative. But when Robyn, his final supporter, started to have doubts about his value, he understood what he was truly losing wasn't family. It was identity. For the first time, Kody Brown was not the star of the Sister Wives show. He was merely another man, exposed, questioning, wanting so badly to show that he was still relevant. And in that instant, the whole story changed. The hero is now the villain. The patriarch is now the warning. And the truth, the actual truth, came into the light. He shaped his story to survive. But if you repeat the same lie long enough, sometimes you begin to believe it, and when Robyn no longer believed, the whole fantasy came crashing down. Robyn's breaking point, the moment everything changed, every story reaches its breaking point. Not when someone yells, but when they finally stop lying. The moment before the collapse. Kody and Robyn sat side by side in that same still living room where they once taped cheerful confessions, laughter ringing off the furniture. Now the air was thick, oppressive. He was pacing, half irate, half perplexed. She was silent, a silence no longer compliance but resistance. "I've given everything," Kody said. "You're all I have left. Why does it still feel like I'm losing?" The camera caught the tremor in his hands, a man whose certainty was turning into desperation. Robyn's eyes glistened, not from tears alone, but from exhaustion. "Because you're fighting everyone," she whispered. "And now, you're fighting me." That was the moment the story shifted. No shouting. No dramatic exit. Just truth, soft, deadly, unstoppable. The emotional collapse. For years, Robyn had been the favorite wife, a position she never really aspired to, but one that was fraught with privilege and poison. She'd been the ultimate protector of Kody's reputation, the last believer in a man the others had already stopped recognizing. But now, across from him, she saw what the others had seen years earlier. The condescension beneath his grief. The domination masked as guardianship. The exploitation dressed up as affection. She recognized a man hanging on to authority rather than alliance. And for the very first time, Robyn didn't regard him as her husband. She regarded him as a stranger she once loved. The confession that changed everything. Do you recall when you said I was your soulmate? Robyn asked gently. Kody nodded, frowning. You told me that was the truth. That I was the reason you trusted in this family. Batulit. He winced, not from rage, but understanding. You didn't need a partner, Kody. You needed a mirror. Someone to reflect back at you the version of yourself that you liked best. Beat. The room went silent. Even the crew, who are normally unseen behind the cameras, appeared to breathe a collective held breath. That was the confession, one not born of guilt but of awakening. The instant she ceased struggling for him and began struggling for herself. The stunning awakening. Kody did not say anything. He simply looked at her with a look that was a cross between fear and confusion. For the first time, he seemed small, a man who'd lost the script to his own life. Because each season, he'd been the voice, the narrator, the one at center stage. And now the camera was panning, slowly, inexorably, in her direction. Robyn saw something that would forever shift their dynamic. She didn't have to exit him to be free. She just had to stop listening to him. That was the actual twist, not a fight or divorce, but a transfer of power. A woman emerging from a shadow she had no idea she was standing in. Suddenly everything changed. The production crew came back to shoot B-roll the next morning. The house was different, lighter, emptier. Robyn glided through it with quiet grace. Kody maintained his distance, sitting alone on the outside porch where he used to give his family unity speeches. He seemed shattered, but not due to loss, because the reality had finally caught up with him. For the first time since the premiere of the show, he was standing face to face with himself without an audience to applaud for him. Perhaps my worth is lost, he spoke softly, as if to himself. Perhaps it was never mine to start with. And that line, the same man who had once claimed to be the leader, became the line that killed his story as we knew it. The transformation of Robyn Brown when the preview for the upcoming episode aired. The fans saw it right away. This wasn't the same Robyn. The tears were still there. But the fear wasn't. She had found her voice. And Kody, finally, had nothing to say. Because when a woman finally ceases pleading to be heard, her silence is louder than any confession. The emotional cliffhanger. He lost his wives. He lost his family. Now he's losing the one person who ever saw something good in him, and when the next episode comes around, the truth that was concealed all these years will be revealed at last, because this isn't merely about broken promises or cheated love. This is about a man confronting the outrageous reality of who he's become. And a woman who finally chooses to stop rescuing him. The hidden secrets and shocking twists no one expected. Every lie leaves a shadow. And sometimes, those shadows tell a story no one was ever supposed to hear. The past creeps in after Robyn's emotional breaking point. Something strange began to happen. Conversations that once stayed behind closed doors started to leak into the open. Not through gossip, not through interviews, but through silence. Family members who had once defended Kody stopped speaking altogether. Production insiders hinted that certain scenes had been reframed. And Robyn, for the first time in the show's history, refused to appear in one-on-one confessionals. I don't want my words twisted, she told a producer, voice trembling. I've done enough pretending. That line, quiet but final, sent ripples through the crew. Because it wasn't rebellion. It was revelation. Robyn had discovered the toughest truth of all. When your narrative belongs to someone else, your silence is the only leverage you possess. Secret number 1, the unseen arguments while cameras rolled on slicked-out interviews. What fans didn't observe were the arguments that took place off-camera, the ones between Kody and the producers. Kody allegedly insisted on trimming some of the scenes, emotional footage that made him look weak. He wished for the world to imagine him as the misunderstood patriarch, the man of conviction. But those who were there report that his private tantrums were nastier. I gave this family everything, he bellowed at one break. They'd be nothing without me. Those words never appeared on the screen, but they resonated through the walls. Robyn overheard them. And in that instant, she knew, the man she was fighting for no longer existed. Secret number 2, the emotional confession that was never shown at a never-to-air moment. Robyn met with one of the producers during a late-night confessional session. Tears streamed down her face, her voice trembling. You have any idea what it's like growing up in this family, she said. But you don't. You don't notice how much we sacrificed for him. Do you regret it? The producer had asked. She paused. Looked away. Then breathed barely audible, I don't regret the family. I regret thinking he'd guard it. The cameras stopped rolling. The tape disappeared into the archives of TLC, a moment too painful to air, too risky to reveal, but now, the truth has spilled out. That sentence, "I regret believing he'd protect it," would be the curse that tormented Kody Brown's legacy. Secret number 3, the financial divide. While fans were arguing feelings, something more scandalous was going on in the background: the finances. Coyote Pass, which had once been the family's dreamland, was now a war zone. Land parcels changed hands. Joint accounts broke down. And as long as Robyn was married, money documents started to include her as an independent unit from Kody's largest assets. Insiders buzzed that she was safeguarding her children, making their future inviolate if the empire came crashing down. To Kody, this was betrayal. To Robyn, it was survival. Because to her, the family wasn't falling apart, it already had. She was simply finally admitting it. Secret number 4, the secret talks with other wives. Weeks later, something even more surprising came to light. Christine and Janelle, ladies who hadn't heard from Robyn in months, called privately. It wasn't a reunion. It wasn't forgiveness. It was comprehension. A late-night telephone call. No producers. No cameras. Christine's tone was tranquil. "We don't despise you, Robyn. We despised what we had to become to endure him." Robyn wept in tears on the other side. Because for the first time in years, she was not the enemy. She was just another woman who loved a man who could not love anyone unless they worshipped him first. The shocking twist, Kody's secret confession. When the preview of season 20 leaked, there was one line that took everyone's breath away, a line that left everyone in shock. In a moment of vulnerability, Kody said, "Maybe Robyn's love was never about me. Maybe it was about the version of me she hoped I'd be." For a man who had built an empire on denial, that line was a crack in his armor. And what slipped through that crack wasn't humility, it was fear. Because Kody wasn't afraid of losing Robyn's love. He was dreading confronting the version of himself that no longer had anyone to blame. The secret no one saw coming. In the subdued aftermath of filming, Kody allegedly went missing from production for weeks. Crew members said he needed time. But sources close to the family were sharing something altogether different. He'd been given an ultimatum. Not from Robyn. From TLC. The network that once faded his tale now wondered whether the public still wished to view him. If the future of the show is all about moving on from Kody Brown, one producer supposedly stated, then so be it. And that was the actual twist. Not a family disintegrating, but a brand determining it could do without its king. The unraveling legacy. By the time the cameras came back around, something in Kody had changed. He wasn't the strong leader he once was. He seemed smaller, quieter, nearly ghostly. Robyn, by contrast, appeared serene, not cheerful, but liberated. Her eyes no longer begged. Her voice no longer shook. Because once you know the truth, you can't unknow it. And the moment you stop believing the tale, all power is taken away from the storyteller. The family wasn't torn apart by outsiders. It was dismantled by secrets, whispered, buried, denied, until the truth insisted on being heard, and when it was finally out, it left nothing intact. The fallout, when truth becomes a weapon, a single truth, set out in the open, can destroy more than a family. It can redefine the world's perception of it. The storm breaks when Kody's query, to Robyn, to the world, struck land. The response was immediate and unforgiving. Tweets went off. Reddit discussions flared. Viewers who previously applauded the patriarch shook their heads. He appeared broken. He inquired as to whether another mattered. That is not leadership, that is crisis. Fans were not civil. They were not nuanced. They typed in rage, scrolling, posting, reliving that moment. In one of the viral clips, Kody's laughter, billed by viewers as maniacal, changed from endearing peculiarity to harbinger of fraying control. Yahoo +1 and everyone witnessed it. When the cameras don't lie, the network had presented family cohesion, faith, togetherness. But reality doesn't follow a script. And then every second where Kody seemed insecure, every justification of his worth or function, became significant beyond the instant. They were clues. A man begging not for forgiveness, but for relevance. A woman no longer willing to pretend she didn't see it. Amid the buzz of reaction, the lyrics changed. The hero's tale stalled, the protagonist lost his voice. What took its place? A victim. A man fighting to hold on to his identity. And to many viewers, a message that control masquerades as love. The public weaponization of the private. What was private became public, and not of choice. Robyn's silence, Kody's gaze, the unspoken questions, they all were devoured by the feed. Some fans applauded Robyn's bravery. Others mourned Kody's downfall. But the consensus, the script had flipped. The truth didn't only set free those who professed it, it weaponized the silence of those who did not. When viewers saw the facade crack, they didn't look away, they leaned in. Because something raw is always more magnetic than something polished. Redefining the legacy now, as season 20 unfolds, the lens isn't just on a plural family, it's on power, worth, and identity. A franchise once built around faith works now asks, what happens when faith fails? When the man at the center wonders if he still matters? And the world replied. The series that once encouraged us to believe in a father's dream now encourages us to believe in the daughter's voice. Viewers don't just watch, they decide. And the decision is clear. In the aftermath of echoes in the quiet space of online tempests and airing rooms, something irreversibly shifted. For Robyn, quiet strength. For Kody, a solitude he once ruled but never dreaded. And for the audience, it was an epiphany: belief is never handed out. It's earned. For because when the truth comes out, it doesn't necessarily heal. Sometimes it stalks. And when it does, it is the weapon that no one can lay down. He lost the story. She discovered the truth. And now the world waits not only on what's coming next, but who will be standing after the storm. Comment below, which side does it resonate with, the daughter who didn't want to be silenced, or the man who thought he didn't count anymore? Subscribe to Behind TLC Sister Wives for more explosive truth, behind-the-scenes gossip, and stories the cameras never intended to tell. Pass this video along to someone shocked at how quickly family goes public, and how truth can be the most powerful voice in the room. What happens next? The truth is out. The family is scattered. The world is watching. But the story isn't over. Waiting begins following the revelations of Season 20. The Brown family has been silent. No interviews. No statements. Just fragments, half-sentences on social media, faint smiles and photos that conceal more than they show. The silence is deliberate. Strategic. Because each word now carries weight. Each glance might change the public image. Behind TLC headquarters, executives are speculating about rebranding the family. Some believe there is potential for redemption. Others believe the age of Kody Brown has passed. The man who once demanded the camera now eschews it. The woman who once wept during confessionals now spurns them. And the audience, millions strong, sits perched on a digital cliff, poised for what's next. Kody's isolation. In one of the leaked production notes, members of the crew explained how Kody's attitude shifted during the final shoot. He seemed smaller somehow, not in body, but in spirit. Like a man attempting to recall who he was before the cameras. He sits outside on the porch at Coyote Pass, that vacant strip of land he once referred to as the family's promised future. The dirt is still unraked. The dream unfinished. And now even he is not sure if it was ever supposed to exist. He mutters to himself, words the mic barely detects, if they don't need me anymore, then who am I? It isn't even the issue of a husband or a father. It's the issue of a man whose being was knitted into being viewed. And when there are no eyes to view, the image vanishes. Robyn's resolve at the same time. Robyn glides undetected in and around the house. She has ceased to defend him in public. Ceased to rationalize his rage, his weariness, his spiritual leadership. Those in the know report she's writing, journaling, perhaps even working on a book. Not revenge. Not bitterness. A reclamation. I need to tell it right this time, she supposedly said. I don't want my kids to grow up thinking this was love. For years, she bore his tale. Now she's figuring out how to bear her own. The network's dilemma. The producers are faced with an impossible choice. Renew the chaos? Or let it rest? Because Sister Wives was never just a show, it was an experiment in belief. But after the season's fallout, the experiment has turned into exposure. Kody's once devoted audience has become his harshest critic. And yet, ratings spike every time his face appears on screen. TLC knows the paradox: the more broken he becomes, the more the world watches. Because fans aren't watching for perfection anymore. They're watching for truth, even painful truth. The emotional cliffhanger. For decades, Kody Brown spun a narrative of faith, family, and control. Now, the world gets to claim it, and the world has rebranded it. Some predict he'll disappear from television altogether. Others think he'll reinvent himself, a redemption story in the making. But the actual enigma isn't whether Kody will be back. It's whether anybody will still trust him when he is. Because truth, once uncovered, alters the viewers for good. You can rebuild a house. You can rebuild a marriage. But you can't rebuild trust on television. The last shot, with the season coming to a close in blackness, the final shot lingers on Kody's face, half in shadow, half in light. His voice can be heard faintly, I just wanted to be understood. The screen goes black. The words appear, line by line, the end? Or just the beginning? So what do you think happens next? Will Kody make amends, or is this the last chapter of Brown legacy? Comment your opinion below. I read all of them. And if you are hungry for real stories off the cameras, the secrets, the feelings, the unexpected surprises, subscribe to Behind TLC Sister Wives. Because this is not the end of this story. And you will not believe what happens next, the resolution, why this story still matters each time a story shatters you. It teaches you something about yourself. And sometimes, the conclusion you never wanted is the one you truly needed. Still standing after the fire. It's been months since that last episode played, the one that had viewers stunned and silent. The headlines have diminished. The arguments have faded. But the effect? It persists. Kody Brown continues to reside in Flagstaff, less boisterous than ever. Robyn stays isolated, her voice quieter, her eyes wiser. The other wives, Christine, Janelle, Mary, have remade lives in other towns. Apart, yes. But somehow, more complete. The vision of oneness has shattered, but the people within it have at last started breathing once more. The viewers, too, have been transformed. Because seeing this family disintegrate wasn't entertainment. It was a mirror, reflecting back at us what occurs when love becomes control, when faith becomes fear, and when the truth becomes the one thing that nobody can shut down. The lesson hidden in the pain for years, the world heard from sister wives that plural marriage was founded on harmony, equality, and sacred purpose. But as the seasons rolled on, the cracks widened. And by season 20, the message had evolved into something brutally honest. You can't build connection on hierarchy, you can't lead with love when you're afraid to be questioned. Kody's downfall wasn't just personal, it was symbolic. He represented the part in all of us that wants to be seen, adored, followed, but not challenged. Robyn's awakening wasn't rebellion, but survival. And ultimately, that's the true reason this story is important, because it reminds us that love without responsibility isn't love. It's worship, and worship always requires a sacrifice. The audience awakens. She finally saw him for who he was. I grew up in a family like this. Watching her speak out helped me heal. People started telling their own tales, daughters who ended pursuing their father's validation, women who discovered boundaries were holy, men who understood quiet isn't strength. The Browns didn't merely present us with reality television theatrics. They granted us permission to talk, to query, to depart. And due to this fact, the narrative will never really conclude. The truth that survived the edit behind each episode, cuts, scenes too raw, tears too many, truths too painful to confront. Yet no matter what was left on the cutting room floor, one thing remained in sight, the humanity. Kody, despite all his flaws, remains human, broken, proud, alone. Robyn, despite all her silent suffering, remains seeking significance. And the others? They are the living testament that walking away is not losing. Because sometimes, winning is in the walking away. And sometimes, survival is the legend. The power of truth, the truth is not kind. It doesn't whisper, it blazes. But once the flames subside, what remains behind is authentic. This is what Sister Wives taught the world, not marriage, but value. That it's never too late to step out of a script you didn't write. That silence is not harmony, it's surrender. And that sometimes, the family you lose gives birth to the person you finally become. Why it still matters. Every viewer who endured 20 seasons didn't merely see a family disintegrate, they saw themselves in fragments of it. The dad working too hard at leading. The mom forgetting her own. The daughter discovering that peace isn't in permission. This wasn't a TV program. It was a living journal of faith, ego, love, and the price of truth. And even after the credits fade, even after the cameras pack up and the network moves on, what remains is the legacy of one undeniable fact: the truth always survives. Even when love doesn't. He lost his family. She found her freedom. And we, the viewers, discovered the lesson in plain sight. No lie is ever big enough, no matter how long it's been told, for it not to ultimately see daylight. Seeing Behind TLC Sister Wives, where the truth finally comes out. If this narrative struck a chord in you like it did for millions, tell us in the comments below what moment shocked you the most. Don't forget to subscribe to Behind TLC Sister Wives for more tales of truth, healing, and untold realities behind TV's largest families. Because sometimes the shows we watch aren't just a form of entertainment, they're lessons in disguise in the form of drama.